We are the GJM Ospreys. We are scientists. We are technologists. We are engineers. We are artists. We are mathematicians. We are STEAM. Now, for a STEAM lesson with Mr. Sink.
Hello Ospreys and families, Mr. Sink here in the STEAM lab with another fun experiment. Today we'll be doing disappearing shell. Today we'll be using eggs and vinegar to make a chemical reaction that will actually dissolve that shell off of the egg. This is done because an egg actually has two layers of protection. It has the outer shell that we see, and right underneath that is something called a membrane. We can think of it kind of like a thin layer of skin. When we crack an egg normally, we actually crack through both the outer shell and that inner membrane. But today our goal is to get the shell off without harming or breaking that membrane. The way we're going to do that today is by carefully placing eggs inside jars and bowls and filling it with vinegar to watch a chemical reaction happen. Now I should warn you, this experiment takes 2 days to complete. So we're going to do it in some stages on video where you'll be able to see every part of the experiment. But at home, it will take you 2 days to get it done. We're going to start by carefully placing our eggs into our containers. Notice I'm doing it carefully, being sure not to break it. Our next step is to add vinegar. Any type of vinegar will work. Just enough to cover the egg. Now the egg may begin to float, and that's okay. You can see my egg's floating a little bit. Now, as soon as I put that vinegar in, you might start to see some bubbles forming. Those bubbles are actually the start of our chemical reaction. The acid in the vinegar is reacting with the calcium of the eggshell. Now, if we want, we can also add some food color to our vinegar to help dye the eggs so we can just have a little bit more fun. So in our jars, I'm going to add green to this one. Whoop. Got a little on my cutting board here. Oops. I'll clean that up later. And I'll add a little bit of red to this jar. Once I carefully place the lids on these, I'll be able to mix them up a little bit to get that food coloring really going. Now, like I said, this experiment takes 2 days. But after the first day, you're actually going to want to open up these jars and carefully pour out the liquid. Because after 2 days, the acid is going to have done its job. And you're actually going to only have some liquid water left. So we're going to pour up that water and add fresh vinegar, so that way we can continue the reaction to get rid of all of the outer shell. Hello Ospreys and families, Mr. Sink's back in the STEAM lab. I know I originally said I was only going to wait 48 hours, but life happens, and a week later I'm back with my disappearing shell experiment. I actually let my eggs soak for 1 week inside vinegar. But after the 24-hour mark, I drained that liquid off and replaced it with fresh vinegar so my chemical reaction could continue. It's important to replace that vinegar after 24 hours because you need that acidity, that acid in the vinegar to react with the calcium of the shell. So after that 24-hour mark, replace your vinegar, and then you can let it soak for as long as you want. Like I said, mine was 1 week. I've already drained off all my vinegar, and I rinsed my eggs a little bit with some gentle water to get any of that remaining sludge off. You can see my colorful ones, and my 2 that I soaked in plain vinegar. This one even kind of changed shape a little bit into like a ball. As I feel them, I'm thinking about, what do I notice about how the eggs changed? How are they different from those eggs that had the shell on them that we had at the beginning of the experiment? Oh no! It exploded! So that red egg exploded because of the thin membrane popping. That's the same thing that happens when you crack a regular egg. And inside is actually that yolk, that yellow part, but because I had done it, it had turned red. I don't know if you can see how when I touched the yolk, it popped and actually turned back to yellow. Pretty neat. But that green egg, you can see, is kind of squishy. I don't want to squeeze too hard because I don't want to have what happened to my red egg happen to my green. But you can squeeze it and play with it a little bit. And you can also try to think about how it feels different. And I wonder if we can actually see that yolk inside the egg if I use like a flashlight. If I look closely, you might see a darker spot inside my egg. And my theory is that that's actually the yolk that I saw when I popped my other egg. Now, you can have some more fun exploring these eggs. You can think about how the size has changed. If you remember, my eggs definitely weren't this big when I put them into the vinegar. Well, that's because of a process called osmosis. Osmosis is when liquid can actually go through a surface. That membrane we've been talking about is semi-permeable. That means liquid can go through, but not everything can get through. So as our egg soaked in that vinegar, some of the vinegar actually soaked through the egg. And as that happened, we waited for it to balance out and stop that osmosis process. So that's why I have that egg that grew just a little bit larger than it was when it started. Now I'm going to have some more fun playing with my eggs. I hope you'll have some fun doing this experiment with your family. Change up some variables if you can. Like I said, I let mine soak for 1 week. What would happen if I soaked it even longer? Or less? What if I hard-boiled that egg before I started? So have some fun with the disappearing shell experiment. Have a great day.